Let's move on to our next corporate conversation then. Bajaj Auto is the company that we have on our radar now. The stock, like the rest of the market, has been under a little bit of pressure, down about 2% this morning. The monthly sales numbers came out and they were more or less in line. March sales data coming in, domestic sales were quite flat. Exports saw a small 2% growth. We have with us Mr. Rakesh Sharma, Executive Director of the company. Mr. Sharma, always a pleasure to have you with us on our morning show. Thank you for joining in. I'll talk about the domestic sales in a bit, but I mean, as an industry veteran, let me ask you the bigger question. I mean, this whole tariff storm that's blowing out. I remember when we spoke about this earlier, of course, you're not that impacted. Your big export markets are Nigeria, Africa, Latin America. But as you watch this from the sidelines, are there any second or third order, perhaps, impacts that you would be wary of?
Good morning, Surabhi. Yes, indeed, you know, the world order equilibrium has been disturbed, and a lot of us who took globalization as an irreversible phenomena are now seeing the winding down of that. While we are not impacted directly, but, you know, these kind of uncertainties lead to the weaker currencies moving, getting devalued, leading to retail inflation, and could sort of dampen demand. There are countries like Mexico. Mexico is one of our largest overseas markets, both by volume and value terms, and how the economy of Mexico is impacted. We have to see once all these the dust around the tariff wars sort of settles down. So there is no direct impact, but yes, like you said, there are secondary impacts to be watched out for.
So what is your exposure to Mexico in terms of your total export pie? What does Mexico contribute?
I wouldn't call it exposure. It is a substantial, like I said, it's one of our top 3 markets. I would say we do about 10,000 units per month of very high-end products. So we have to see, till now, there is no major impact in terms of demand, and growth rates are sort of almost similar. But going forward, we just have to be watchful as to how the economy of Mexico gets impacted.
So just to complete this point on global trade negotiations and pressure, now, whenever Mr. Trump speaks, he loves to talk about motorcycles, right? We've all seen that. And India has had to respond by lowering some duties so that those Harleys can ride into India. Could that, going forward, if we are willing to give more, could that become a challenge for your super premium bikes? I mean, KTM, the super premium brands that you're selling here in India and overseas as well?
Not at all. See, we are already competing with US brands and Chinese brands and Japanese brands in over 108 countries, right? So if we are competitive overseas, we will be competitive in India. So quite frankly, this is not a great issue for us because even if we lower duties or bring them in line with the US, we would in fact require reciprocity. And in any case, our exports from India to, that is Bajaj Auto's exports from India to the US are very small. And, you know, only the KTM and the Triumph joint products, which we have co-developed and are manufactured in India, they go over there. They constitute about 1 to 2% of our entire exports. So even from that point of view, it's a very minimal impact. But from the point of view of lowering import duties in India, I think we will be competitive.
You know, Mr. Sharma, with all that is happening around the world, it is easier to talk about and discuss economics. But from a business standpoint, both globally, growth has been lacking at a lower base, but a higher rate. But domestically, you had guided for a 6 to 8% sort of growth, and you've ended up doing just 2%. So when we stand at the start of FY26, what is your target for the next year when it comes to domestic volume growth and export volume growth for the next year?
Yeah, well, I would say that the outlook for the industry, which we are presuming is about similar as what we had said last year, about 6%. But the important thing to understand is that the nature of growth is not completely linear and completely secular. You will have quarters which will be very, very high growth, and you will have, quarters which will be very, very low growth. And as we move forward, you see these differences between growth rates and the actual performance, between outlook and actual performance, there is a constant dynamic over there to manage, which is between growth and profitability. Because growth is just one dimension of the market. The other dimension of the market is competitive nature, the inflation. And as you know, at Bajaj Auto, we are constantly trying to optimize both the top line performance and the bottom line performance with market share and competitive position. So a lot of these variances which you see is trying to get what we feel from our corporate standpoint is the best competitive position, which is a competitive position comprising of not just a volumetric position, but a value position and a certain profitability profile. And we will continue to do that. And we think that through its ups and downs, next year the motorcycle industry should be looking at a 5 to 6% growth.
And what about you?
Well, we would like to outpace that, and particularly in the top half of the industry, which is the 125cc plus industry, we would be planning to grow beyond what the industry is going to presumably grow at.
All right, Mr. Sharma, thank you very much, sir. Pleasure speaking with you, and we'll sort of continue this discussion, fast-moving environment, more so on a global level.